mutual friend, those are kind of data are actually saved in your in your RAM memory. So what our software was doing is that it was reading that RAM memory and it was extracting those kind of data from the RAM memory. And it was able to, we were able to figure out, okay, just from the RAM memory, that okay, that guy, if that guy has a Facebook account, who are their friends, and even what are the pics of their friend, how their friend looks like. Okay, so there are a lot of things that you can do. Uh, Even if there are no existing tool in the market, you can utilize those kind of as I am telling from the beginning that as a software professional, we need to kind of know how to write code, let's say with Python scripting, for an example. So you can develop this kind of tools going forward. Okay. So in similar fashion, what we do is that we can kind of look at the browser activity and we can figure out, okay, what all websites that person has visited using this kind of artifacts. Okay. So we'll look at few of them in detail, like download history. We'll definitely look at for the Firefox or Chrome browser, the bookmarks folder. So we'll look at that too. Okay. So now moving forward to the next thing, cloud storage. Okay. So let's say for an example, there are multiple users in an organization. What they do is that they mount their Google Drive onto their official laptop to copy certain files from, let's say, the host to the Google Drive. Or let's say there's an attacker who has actually mounted certain, let's say they have mounted Dropbox folder and Dropbox folder in the system, and then they are spilling certain data out to the Dropbox. So in that case, even if that file was unmounted, even if that file drive was unmounted, we can figure that out, like when that file was mounted and what all other information regarding that, what all files were synced up to that Google backup server or not. We can, or let's say, so over here, these are the files let's say 180 days of user activity, or let's say what drive was assigned to that Google Drive. So we can figure that out by looking at these all artifacts. So maybe we'll look at that. Most probably, I think we won't be looking at especially to this scenario, okay? Because the scenario that I will be handling with you guys, maybe it's actually more complicated than just by Google Drive, because there will be kind of looking at network maps there, right? Not like known Google Drive. So it is more complicated than that. But I'm just kind of giving an idea that for now we can kind of what we do is that we have a lot of artifacts around these things too. So if you got any incident where you want to figure out, okay, if a Google Drive was mounted, you can kind of just go to that laptop and grab these files, parse this out, the SQLite DB file using the SQLite manager, and figure out, okay, what all things are there. Okay, so we'll look at those all things at a high level going forward. Similarly, for the account uses, like what all accounts were used from that system is that, let's say, cloud account. Just give me guys 2 minutes. I'll just quickly grab some water and feel a little bit tired. So just give me 2 minutes, 2 minutes, guys. Okay, so now let's resume our discussion. And guys, just feel free to interrupt me whenever you have any questions. Okay. So thing is that again for the account, we can kind of look at, okay, let's say if someone logged into your, let's say you are investigating a Windows host and you need to figure out, okay, what all kind of logins happened from which IP address and what was the type of login. Let's say, was it a RDP based login, or let's say someone really just went there and kind of typed in the computer the username password and logged into the computer. So we can kind of figure that those things out. So there are multiple artifacts for that. So for an example, logon event types, for an example. So if so, there is a security.evtx file in Windows, and it will record like what IP address from where the login happened. And let's say there was a RDP based login to that host. So what we do is that in the security evts log, there will be a login entry for logon type 10. There will be ID of 10. So whenever we see an ID of 10, we can tell that okay, there was an RDP based login that happened on that host. Okay, and we can also see what were the successful and failed login. So we'll actually look at all this thing in a lab environment, and you need to guide. I will kind of giving you the EBTX file, and you need to figure out. I will kind of asking questions, and you need to kind of pass that. You need to actually get those answers for me, and we can try to kind of do that lab environment. Okay, so all those kind of login and log out event account uses, we can figure out there are multiple different kind of artifacts to kind of handle that out. So we'll look at that definitely in much more detail. Now, so I hope you guys agree that these are something which is really useful for SOC professional. We need to know all these things to kind of investigate any kind of, let's say, malware or policy violation kind of case. And these are the things which will be kind of uh, you'll be encountering on daily basis. Okay. Similarly, for the network and physical location, let's say there was any network map web server, or let's say I want to figure out what are the Wi-Fi signals that computer has successfully connected to. We can kind of figure that out again. Like there are multiple artifacts for that too. We'll kind of look at that. Let's say what are the network interfaces and all. So there are two. I'll say two incidents where actually I utilize this WLAN event log and network interface log for handling one incident. So one of the incident was actually that it was actually a funny incident. It was actually, I think, a recruitment fraud incident. Okay, that where HR people were actually doing some fraud, and they were kind of, let's say, they were recruiting people uh, in exchange of money. Okay, somehow. Okay, and they were having some kind of nexus between the interviewer also. Okay, they were asking the interviewer to pass those guys or not, and they were kind of getting a lot of money. They're making a lot of money from that. And so there's one recruitment fraud case, and thing was that there were multiple HR people. Okay, let's say HR1, then HR2, and somehow we got a tip that the lead HR had some kind of a relation with the other HR who was actually doing the recruitment fraud. Okay, and we need to find out a relation between these two guys, like if there's any kind of relation. And the funny part over there in that case, what I remember is that these two person were actually friends, were very close friends. They were actually we were having some idea that they are doing this recruitment fraud um, together, and we had to kind of figure out certain things by which we can say that okay, these two guys has actually kind of done some recruitment fraud. Okay, and this guy was actually telling us that this person HR1 has no idea about HR2 existence. Like this guy was telling that this person has never met HR2 when we did the interview of this guy, of the HR1. And we need to figure out if there's any kind of relationship between HR1 and HR2. So we did some social network checks and all, nothing came up. But then there was one interesting artifact that I found out, which was actually led to the Wi-Fi event log. And what I found out that earlier when we were investigating this guy, so for this guy, we were investigating his computer and his office assigned mobile. And in the office assigned mobile, what I found is that he was actually making certain kind of hotspot, Wi-Fi hotspot, and that name of that hotspot, let's say was with his name itself. Let's say the name of this guy is Ramesh, for an example. Okay, Ramesh access, uh, Ramesh AP, and then a specific ID 1234, something like that was there. Okay, a specific unique ID was there for this host, and which was kind of created by automatically by his own mobile phone, because sometime when you open the hotspot, that hotspot actually generates a unique name for your Wi-Fi.